everyone. My name's Taylor. I'm the owner of Elor Event Planning. I'm so happy you're joining me today because I have a super fantastic guest, and I will let him introduce himself.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Russ Burton from Russ Burton Entertainment. You may know I had Taylor on my podcast. She's nice enough to return the favor, and I'm really happy to be here with all you today.
Oh, it's totally awesome to have you here, and I loved being on your podcast, so I'm glad you could hop on my YouTube channel and my IGTV too, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
So you told everyone who you are. You want to give us a little intro into you and your background, maybe how you got into DJ, your couples you prefer to serve, that kind of a spiel.
No, I'm not comfortable with that question.
You probably should.
Everything you sent me, I'm not good with any of those questions. I'm sorry. I started off in radio. I was a morning show producer for a long time and an on-air DJ. And loved that, but just wanted a little something on the side that, doesn't always pay the best. So, and honestly, I just wanted something else to do. And I had always thought this would be something, DJing is something I would be good at. I've been to way too many friends' weddings where the music was terrible, or the music was okay, but the DJ was bad.
Right.
And it just never made sense to me. I'm like, how can you not be good at this job? It seems like fun and easy. So I reached out to a friend of mine who worked for one of the bigger DJ companies in town. And I started working for them, did it for maybe 2 or 3 years with them. And then I just started getting so many requests from friends of mine who were like, hey, I'm doing a wedding. How does this work? Do we have to go through them and then go to you? I was just like, you know what, we'll make it work. I'll just do it on my own. And I just realized that I could do well enough just doing it on my own, just invested in all my own equipment and just started putting my name out there. And I've been doing this for 16, 17 years now, just
nice.
On my own. Yeah, it's been fun.
I created this series to kind of ask different vendors the questions that they get the most. So I think one of the questions that I know a lot of couples have when they're going to look for a DJ is, what is the most important factor when I'm looking for a DJ?
Sure. I mean, it's, it is kind of hard to limit it down, obviously, to one thing. But I would say, to me, the most important thing, at least the weddings that I've done that I felt have been the most successful, it's just having a good vibe with each other. I think, yeah, it's nice if you have somebody who's done thousands of weddings and, who's got the lights in the photo booth and all that stuff. It's all great. But if personality wise, you don't mesh, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, I know way too many people who have gone with, either a bigger company or a really well-known DJ, and their personalities didn't match. So the person didn't give them what they wanted, music wise, personality wise. I think that meeting your DJ beforehand and with any of these vendors really, but especially I feel like
True.
DJ, because so much of the reception part of it hinges on what they're bringing to it. I think getting to know them and having a good feeling about them in particular is probably the most important thing.
So kind of to that end, how would you describe your personal DJing style?
My personal DJing style is, I would say I'm solely focused about the music, just as far as my style goes. I'm not someone who's going to, jump on the mic and be walking out on the dance floor and be like, hey, everybody get up. I'm not, I'm not, I'm not, despite everything that's happening right now. I'm not, right. I always call it the hype man. I'm not that, I'm not going to be on the mic after every song. When I was with the other company, they had you train, and the people who I was watching did that to me to a fault, ad nauseum, where they were making the night about them. And I've seen so many people do this, and to me, I don't feel comfortable with that. And,
right.
And it's like, if I'm doing my job well enough, if I'm playing good enough music, then I don't have to jump on the mic every 2 songs. I don't have to yell at you to get on the dance floor.
Right.
So I'm, almost more of a laid back approach, I guess, in that case. And, laid back in general, where I'm good to ride the wave and make any adjustments as we need to. That's kind of
nice. My next question for you is, what would you consider the biggest or one of the bigger misconceptions that people have about wedding DJs?
I would say the biggest to me is that I guess that anyone can do it, that, you just press play and walk away is how I phrase
Right.
it. That it's just you're press and play on an iPod. I mean, to be fair, a lot of times I can totally understand that's what it looks like. I know for me in particular, yeah, I might just be hitting play on, my phone, my tablet, whatever I'm playing music off of at that point. But months of discussion has gone into, and all this thought has gone into making sure you have the right songs. Like I know, I'll have 200 songs ready for a wedding, so that way, if they only give me 20 that they want to hear, I have all this other music to go from. I have backups. If this song doesn't work, I can run to this. Just always having something ready to go. A lot of planning goes into it before that day. So I think just that conception of, anybody can do it. All you're doing is press and play. I think that's the biggest mistake.
Yeah. So just kind of a follow-up question on that. Do you like it when couples give you like a really robust song list?
Honestly, I don't mind it. And I know a lot of DJs who do mind it, who say, you're kind of not letting me do my job. And I totally understand that thinking too. It's, if you're hiring me to put the music together, let me put the music together. I look at it more as, if it's your wedding, I want to play the music you want to hear. So why am I going to say
that will get everyone to have a good time?
Exactly. Like, why am I going to limit them to 10 or 15 requests maybe, and then put the rest of it on me when I'm at that point, I'm really just guessing. I mean, sure, I have experience to back it up, but if hey, here's 100 songs, these I know I want played at my wedding, I'm 100% fine with that. I just always say, for them to have more realistic expectations, first of all, if you're giving me 100, 200 songs to play from, highlight or star the ones that you want to make sure get played. Because in reality, they're not all getting played. So let me know what's most important to you. And then just be understanding if we have to go off script. I can tell you, I remember one wedding in particular where they gave me a huge list of songs to go from, and it probably was close to 100 songs to choose from, and it was a lot of really off the beaten path songs. I remember in particular, like Led Zeppelin was on there. And I love Led Zeppelin, but it just typically doesn't fit in a wedding. I'm like, hey, if you want it, I'm going to give it a shot. And I remember that song in particular did not do well at all. It did not. And and it was a couple of songs in a row where it was ones they were dead set on, they needed to have, and it didn't work. So I had to just kind of jump the rails a little bit and say, okay, I think I know what this crowd wants. I'm going to flip the script a little bit and, do something else.
So I wanted to pick your brain on what your thoughts are about additional services that usually get paired with DJing, like lighting, photo booth, that kind of a deal.
It's really funny because the lighting has always been there. I mean, of course, you got your uplighting, you have your dance floor lighting, you have the different styles. The whole photo booth phenomenon, it's funny, I mentioned how long I've been doing it. I've seen it kind of coming in a little bit at a time. And I mean, once it hit, it was just, everybody's got to have it now, it feels like. I'll be honest, I'm personally not a fan. I think just as far as the DJ's perspective goes, I don't like the photo booth because it's taking attention away from the dance floor. When most people, you hire a DJ because you want people packed on the floor dancing. So I'm not a fan of it because typically you'll see a line waiting to get to the photo booth. So I never understood why DJs would pair those together, because it seems to be counterproductive in a way. But at the same time, they're always a huge hit. I mean, any wedding I've gone to, I know we definitely go right to the photo booth. You always have a ton of fun. All the props, all of them end up making their way on the dance floor at some point anyway. And that always leads to some really entertaining moments. So I would say for me personally, I'm not a huge fan. Lighting, I mean, and I'll be honest, as far as dance floor lighting goes, I don't get requested that often to get it. And I don't think it necessarily adds as much as people think. Other than if you're not sure about your crowd, how energetic they're going to be, it kind of brings the attention of like, hey, this is the dance floor, like the party's happening right now. So you better get out there. But other than that, it doesn't, in my opinion, really add as much as people think it does.
What couples do you think are good candidates for DJs versus bands, or is it just perfectly a preference thing?
I see the positives in both. And to be 100% honest, when I just got married a couple of years ago, I
Mm-hmm.
was kind of leaning towards getting a live band, just because I like that option as far as energy goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that can backfire too, because there's only so much you can do with a live band. So
Right.
now the nice thing is if people want to go towards a live band, a lot of the people in the band do also DJ on the side.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have stuff they bring with them, so you'll get kind of both in one. um, DJs, if you want more of a variety and flexibility, I think a DJ's and just ease. I have no idea how much it is to get a band, but if it's more than two people, it's probably more than a DJ. So that's going to be a big factor too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be easier to have a DJ. You can change. If you're like, hey, I want to hear this song next, you can
Mm-hmm.
do that. Where with a band,
Right.
hey, a good one might be able to, but I think it's pretty unrealistic.
Right.
And that's not taking anything away from bands, because their energy is outstanding. I've
Right.
done plenty of weddings where I'm DJing and they're the live band and you bounce back and forth, and those are a ton of fun. But it
Right.
100% just is up to your preference.
I'm curious if you agree. The other thing that I usually like talk couples through, as I know personally, like I'm that person that's on the dance floor all night. So what I find frustrating
I
about
never
bands
would
is
have thought that of you.
you're not surprised at all.
I think every YouTube video of you that I've seen, you end up dancing at some point in the clip. It's funny. So I'm shocked that you would say that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say that like I usually try and mention to my couples to like know that I feel like when the band takes a break, which they totally need to, that
Sure.
things kind of like grind to a halt, and that always bums me out as the excessive dancer in the group.
Yeah, that's a killer. I mean, because like I said, there's
Even if
been
you
times
play music, it just goes.
it really does. It's 100% true. I mean, because like even if you do have a DJ and a band at the same time, there's going to be that awkward moment of like, I feel like Night at the Roxbury, like you, me, you, we were trying to figure out like who's exactly like whose turn it is. And the styles are rarely going to mesh together too. So there's going to be that awkward period for sure.
Want to talk us through kind of your process of picking music, or how you suggest couples do it? Give us an idea of that.
Yeah, sure. When I get those couples who are just starting strictly from the base, they have nothing to go off of. I just start off by saying well, first of all, what are some of your favorite songs to listen to together?
Mm-hmm.
And then
That's a good question.
yeah, what are your favorite songs that mean something to each other? Now maybe that means dancing, maybe not. I mean, I always tell people the cocktail hour is extremely underrated for music selection, because that's where you really set a mood.
Yep.
That's honestly, I think I've gotten more business off of weddings I've done from the cocktail hour music I've done than anything else, because
Nice.
it's just, you start setting the mood, already what kind of night it's going to be. You kind of feel out the crowd and, kind of just get them already talking, get them in a good mood. So, those songs that you really love, like Jack Johnson comes to mind. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to throw in Banana Pancakes in the middle of the dance floor, but
right.
if that's something where people are just hanging out drinking, that's perfect. So, I say stuff like that, keep that in mind. Also, I ask them, what are songs that you listen to when you're just hanging out with your friends? Like if you guys are going to have a party, in a field, somebody's backyard, whatever, what kind of playlist are you putting on?
Right.
Those are the two biggest ones I would ask if we're starting, right from the base.
Awesome. Yeah. How do you personally handle song requests, or how do you balance it if the couple said they don't really want you to take any song requests? Give us an idea of that.
That's so much fun. Is when you get the song
Love
request.
managing people.
That's I mean, obviously it's my least favorite part of the job, because now sometimes you'll get those people who they're right on it, or they're the bride's sister or something, and they have a pulse in the night, and they say, oh my God, you should play this song next.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get those people who, and more times than not, it's people who are related to or friends of the couple who are DJs themselves, where they're like, no, bro, you got to play this song. Like it's going to kill. Never does. It never does. But as far as managing it, I mean, I definitely ask people going into it, the couples, if they want a request. More times than not, people are okay with it. Because again, like we said before, you can put a list together of as many songs as you want. You don't know what the night's going to be like, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, again, just referencing my own wedding. I mean, you know, we had all this planned to be dancing all night. It was 100 degrees. So it ended up being more just hanging out music than everything. And my
Right.
DJ was great and, you know, just kind of played along with that. So it worked out really well. So you can't plan for everything. So just giving the DJ that flexibility is so important, but
Right.
knowing who your wedding party is and knowing what kind of characters you're going to have, you might want to give them a heads up as far as like, hey, Uncle Al, he's going to ask you for, you know, Foreigner, don't play it, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So it's, I don't know. I don't really mind managing the requests. I mean, I always write them down, and sometimes they're good and I'll try to get to them, and other times they're just not going to fit.
Have you had equipment break at a wedding? And if so, or if not, what is the plan?
The only time I can think of, it was actually when I first started and I was working for the bigger company. So taking all fault away from myself. They
wasn't me, I swear.
Yeah, right. No, if a fuse broke in a fuse blew in one of the speakers.
Oh no.
And I had never had that happen before. So thankfully, you know, I will say, I mean, you know, it may seem like I'm taking shots at the bigger guys, but the one huge plus to this, in this instance, was they had somebody on staff who just drove right out to me, handed me an extra speaker, you know, and we were able to switch out like that. As far as me personally, I have had, I can think of one time in particular where I had a wireless microphone that didn't work in the middle of a ceremony.
Too. Oh
yeah, when they're doing
mine
the
was
vows and
cocktail
everything.
hour like introduction, so not as bad.
Oh, that's not great though.
No, it's not.
But at least, I mean, in that instance, usually the venue has a wireless mic you can grab or something.
Yeah.
You know, so like in that case, you just go with it. I mean, thankfully we had two. I had one that the actual, whoever was doing the ceremony, the service, they had a wireless mic, and then there was another one for the bride and groom, but that one didn't work. But I would say in general, just for myself, and, you know, a note for anybody really, that's why I always get there at least an hour and a half early at the minimum, just so you can test everything and see how it's going to work in that room, you know.
Right. So what would you suggest to couples if they're on the day of their wedding and they're finding that the DJ isn't quite matching the vibe that they want from them? Should they say something? How should they approach it? Give us your thoughts.
I would say absolutely say something. Now, with the caveat being, if it's not what you wanted, but it's still working, you know what I mean? If it's not necessarily what you had in mind, but the crowd is still reacting to it, then you have to weigh that in. I mean, maybe you just kind of take a step back and rethink what you wanted. You know, if everybody's having fun and you wanted to scrap that for these, you know, oddball songs that you really wanted to hear, is that worth it? But even in that case, I would still have a conversation with the DJ. I mean, God, I would feel terrible if at the end of the night they came up to me and said, "Hey, thanks a lot. Really wasn't what we wanted, but, you know, thanks for showing up." You know,
it hurt me just to hear that.
Yeah. Oh God, I would hate that. I mean, like I can tell you one of my favorite stories to tell ever. Now, this isn't necessarily me not matching the vibe. This was just everything falling apart. Actually, two stories. I'll go quick. So I had one where this bride leading up to her wedding loved the Rolling Stones. Her family loved the Rolling Stones, and she legitimately wanted me to have every third song be the Rolling Stones. So I did all this research. I had the songs ready, and after the very first song, she says, "You know what? My friends don't really like the Rolling Stones. Can you just play like modern dance music?" So like all that time I spent, I'm like, oh, I gotta, you know, scramble and kind of go, you know, rework everything on the day of. But thankfully she said something, because otherwise the whole night would have been scrapped.
Right.
But we knew right from the beginning we had to change the plan. And I had another instance where, you know, it was a real classic rock crowd, and, you know, I'm playing dance music, I'm playing disco, and just nobody's biting, nobody's moving at all. And, you know, it was one of those few times where I'm jumping on the microphone and saying, "Hey, everybody, get on the dance floor." And no one's budging. And somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, how about House of the Rising Sun?" I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not really a dance song. And the guy just looked at me and was like, nobody's dancing anyway. Like, we don't want to dance. We just want to hang out. And
Right.
I was like, that's a really good point. So I just played to
Okay.
that the rest, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, in that instance, it's not necessarily the bride and groom, but I think in general, if you're not getting what you want out of, I mean, really any of your vendors, but especially your DJ,
Yeah.
you can hear the music isn't what you pictured, tell them right away and try to change up the plan. If they're decent and they're good people, they should be able to accommodate and, you know, to go
Yeah.
along with it.
Perfect. Well, can you tell everyone where they can check you out and get some more of your wisdom that you share with the world?
Yeah, absolutely. RussBurtonEntertainment.com is the website. I have all my, you know, I have a couple of different blog posts up there. If you're not necessarily a podcast person, I have some podcast episodes up there, just giving tips on different things, you know, good songs for the, you know, parent child dance, you know, mother, father, you know, that wouldn't be a right one. Mother, son, father, daughter. There we go. Those dances, you know, songs for the ceremony, things of that nature. You know, I have all kinds of suggestions up there. If you want to listen to it on other areas, other avenues, you know, I'm on Spotify. I'm on Google Podcast. Pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find Diary of a DJ podcast. But again, you can just go to RussBurtonEntertainment.com and everything's right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, is there any other last tidbits you want to share with our audience?
I would say, as far as, you know, just parting words, I mean, just really have an idea what you want going into it. You know, don't,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to hire a DJ and just say, hey, you take care of everything, I would say 9 out of 10 times you're not going to be happy with what you get because you're not going to be
Right.
on the same page. So, you know, really make sure you're doing your due diligence, talk to the person beforehand, make sure they're clear on what you want, because then again, you know, like we talked before about, hey, how do you change up? And, you know, if they're not giving you what you want, hopefully you'll know beforehand if they're maybe not going to give you what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can make up a new plan or maybe even go with a new person. So I would say really, you know, take the time to get to know the person before the day of, so then you're not surprised for the biggest day of your life.
Yes. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I know everyone will find this conversation really helpful. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.